Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Average Jocks Hockey Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Justin. Sitting next to me is my co-host, Joel.
Hello and thank you for tuning in. Before we start our first episode, I think it's important that we give our listeners an idea of what Average Jocks is all about.
We're going to cover all things that pertain to the NHL through our unique segments and special guests. We are bringing a creative approach to answer the tough questions. This episode will be shorter than most as it is more of an introduction episode, but going forward, each episode will be roughly 45 minutes to an hour long.
Some episodes will be dedicated to certain areas in hockey, such as our Behind the Bench segment. In these episodes, we speak with GMs, coaches, trainers, and builders of the game to take a behind-the-scenes look at how hockey teams tick. In our Locker Room Talk episodes, we talk with current and past players about a variety of hockey topics.
We will have a monthly short segment called You Bet Your Ass. In this segment, Joel and I will place a ridiculous bet. The loser of the bet has to face a punishment picked by the winner.
To end each episode, we have a segment called Blunder of the Week. In this segment, we pick what we believe the biggest blunder of the past week in the NHL and present it to you, the listeners.
We hope you all will have as much fun as we will, and we are happy to have you all along with us for this ride. So without further ado, let's begin our first ever episode of Average Jocks.
As I'm sure you're all aware, the regular season is already a week old. The rust should be shaken off and the players should be starting to settle in. For me, the start of the regular season brings hope to all hockey fans that their team is going to be at least a little bit better than they were the previous year in hopes to lift Lord Stanley's Cup. Well, in this episode, Justin and I are going to burst some hockey fans' bubbles, which bring us to our first segment, You Bet Your Ass.
Joel and I have filled out our playoff standings for each conference, trophy winners, and lottery draft results for the 2022-2023 season. At the end of the year, we're going to compare these lists, and one with the most correct picks wins.
Let's start with our playoff standings. I'll give you a rundown. We'll go division by division. We'll start with the Atlantic. I have the Tampa Bay Lightning as the top team in the division. They haven't really lost anybody other than Andre Palat, and I think Tampa always has that next man up mentality. So there's going to be somebody that's going to step up on that top line with Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov. I'm not worried about that. I think they easily have it locked up. Their goaltending alone is, bar done, the best in that division. So Tampa Bay Lightning finish atop. Second place, I think some people will be a little bit surprised, but I have the Boston Bruins. I think the tandem of Allmark and Swayman gives them a leg up on the Toronto Maple Leafs tandem of Samsonov and Murray, especially with Murray's injury less than 5 games into the season here for the Buds. So I think the Bruins will finish ahead of the Leafs for second. I do have Toronto coming in third. So that rounds up my top 3. I do think the Leafs are going to have a hard time with goaltending this season. Austin Matthews can only carry them so far. Justin, what does your Atlantic Division look like?
Well, Joel, we agree on 2 of the 3 teams, but in a different order. I as well have Tampa as number 1. I don't see that team slowing down. The firepower is too good. I think they're just great all around. Number 2, I have Toronto. I believe that their goaltending is going to be just fine. I think Samsonov has a lot to prove, as well as Murray, whenever, if, and when he's healthy. I think they're going to be fine goaltending, and that was really the only issues that they've had the last couple of years. They have no issues scoring goals. Their defense is a little bit weak, but if they can outscore teams, I think they'll do just fine in the standings. And number 3, I have Florida. I don't see them dropping out of the top 3. They finished first last year. I don't think losing Huberdeau will be that big of a hit that they drop out of the top 3 in that division.
All right. Well, we can agree to disagree, but let's move on to the Metro. I have the New York Rangers finishing atop there. I think with Igor Shesterkin and Nets, kind of the Andrei Vasilevsky of the Metro, as well as the Rangers' young defense, I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. I think Alexis Lafreniere is going to take it to a next level this year. I have the New York Rangers finishing atop. In second, I have the Washington Capitals. I think Darcy Kemper and Ovi's last-ditch effort to try and get another cup will bring them into second place in that division. In third, I have the Carolina Hurricanes. They have a couple injuries right now. Max Pacioretty on the LTIR. I think that once Pacioretty comes back, maybe tail end of the season, that could add a little bit of scoring prowess. But I do think they're still a young team. I think there's going to be some learning curve at some point, as well as Anderson's normally good for an injury per year. Antti Ranta, decent. They don't have that extra insurance with Alex Nedeljkovic anymore. So Antti Ranta and whoever that third goaltender is, I'm not sure if they can fill those Freddie Anderson shoes. So that's why I have Carolina in third. How about you? What does your Metro shape up?
Well, Joel, so far we both agree on the top teams, because I too have New York to finish first. Like you said, Shesterkin is just probably, if not the best goalie in the league right now, and that offense in front of him is absolutely unreal. And you got guys like Fox on the back end who could carry the offense, quarterback the power play. You got Trouba as a good defensive defenseman. He's going to definitely do the tough stuff for that team. So I think the Rangers will probably finish at top of the East, not even just the Metro. In second, I have Carolina. I know you have them third. I think they're probably one of the best coached teams in the league. I think they play a good style of hockey. Goaltending may be an issue when it comes to injuries, but I think last year with the Anderson's injuries, Ranta proved he did all right. I don't see that team slowing down at all, and they're still going to be a top team in the East. At number three, I have Pittsburgh Penguins. That team is very good. The core is a little bit older, but they're still very skilled. Tristan Jarry is a very good goaltender. He's definitely going to push that team into, I think, the third spot. Gunsel's probably going to score at least 30-40 goals again this year. Crosby should put up a good number. If Malkin's healthy, that's definitely a good second line center. So I definitely see that team in the top three.
All right, our East wild cards. I have the Florida Panthers in my first wild card spot. I think they are going to take a bit of a step back. Losing Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar is a big loss. Yeah, they added Matthew Tkachuk, but I don't think he has the offensive talent. And obviously, he's not a defenseman. I think that loss of Mackenzie Weegar at the back end hurts them. They take a step back to the first wild card spot. My second wild card team is the Pittsburgh Penguins. For one reason, age. I think that Malkin's getting up there, Crosby's getting up there, Letang is up there, Jeff Petrie is up there, Jeff Carter. They have an older team. These guys are still, like Sidney Crosby, Malkin, Letang, they're still putting up decent numbers. I just think at some point age is going to catch up to them. A young team like Carolina, a young team like the Rangers, and I think Caps are a little bit younger with their core, with the exception of Ovi. I think the Penguins take another step back, which could be in one of their final postseason runs. And one of my buddies, Thomas, who is an avid Pens fan, actually was texting me about the Pens yesterday, and I asked him about Tristan Jarry, and his only comment was, talk to me whenever you win a playoff series. So, to me, even Pens fans are a little skeptical of Jarry's goaltending. He's put up some decent regular season numbers. We'll see what he can get done in the playoffs. I don't really have much faith in Casey DeSmith as a backup, but what do I know?
Well, Joel, my wild card is a lot different than yours. At the top of the wild card, I have the New York Islanders. I think they were like a bubble team last year. I think they're better than they played. Their goaltending, I think, is great. Sorokin, Varlamov. Barzal's a very good player. If he's given the room to do what he can do offensively, he's going to score a lot more points this year. So I see them definitely making the playoffs this year. And my final wild card spot, you know, Joel, I like to take a lot of risks, make bold predictions. So this is no different. So I have Detroit Red Wings just sneaking in there in that final wild card spot. I think they're young. I think they're gonna a lot of skill. I think Husso is a good goalie for them to have. He did very well in St. Louis last year. And Nedeljkovic as a backup, I think, is not going to hurt them at all. Sider did well on D. You got Sherrod, who's a decent defensive defenseman. Hronek is no slouch either. On offense, they're pretty stacked, especially with their new additions. I see them slipping into that playoff spot this year.
Well, that is definitely a bold take. I like the moves that Stevie Y's made to the Red Wings, and I think Derek Lalonde is going to be a good NHL coach. I definitely still have them a few years out, given how strong the Atlantic is and how the Metro still has some pretty decent teams competing, but time will tell. Let's move over to the West now. Let's go see the Central Division, where I have the reigning Stanley Cup champions, the Colorado Avalanche, remaining in that top seed. I think Frank Hughes and Alexander Gorgiev are more than capable of filling that Darcy Kemper hole left. They didn't really lose anybody. They lost Nazem Kadri. Yes, I'm not convinced Nazem Kadri is able to put up the scoring, that he did last year. Again, he could. I don't see it. I think the Colorado Avalanche repeat as Central champs. In second place, I have Smashville, the Nashville Predators. I think will take another step forward. UC Saros, small goaltender, plays big. He's going to win some games on his own. Nashville, very fun team, super deep on defense. I think that their forwards are going to be able to win them some games alone as well with some high-scoring games. I have them finishing second. Third, probably an unpopular decision, but I'm a big Jake Ottinger fan. I think the Dallas Stars are going to finish third in the Central. Their top six, very good. Much past that, meh. Kind of a rotation of their AHL guys. But I do think the Dallas Stars will find a way to squeak one out and finish in that third spot in the Central.
All right, Joel. I think we have a lot of different opinions on this. I have Nashville finishing first in the Central. I think that team played very well last year. They didn't make many changes. I think they added Niederreiter, who's been on fire so far this year. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. Susie Saros had a great year. I see him either repeating or even having an even better year this year. Especially with the D that they have in front of them, like you mentioned. I see them definitely at the top of the standings this year. And number two, I have Colorado. I don't see them slipping very far. They're still a very, very good team. Obviously, the best defenseman in the world on their team right now. But I just don't see that offensive power past their probably top 4 or 5 forwards. Really, nothing really stands out unless players overperform or reach their potential. I just don't see it. I think losing Kadri at second line center is going to hurt them a little bit. Just don't think those wingers around Newhook, who's playing second line right now, is going to be good enough. And number 3, I have a surprising pick. I have Minnesota. I absolutely loved watching this team play last year. They play with a lot of heart. Kaprizov is absolutely unreal. Hoping adding Marc-Andre Fleury will give them that little push to move up in the standings. That was really the only spot they struggled a whole lot last year. I mean, Talbot was good, but I think Fleury's going to be better. On defense, they're a little bit risky, but I think offensively they're going to be good enough to finish third in that division.
All right, moving on to the Pacific. I have, which I believe will be one of the teams heading to the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Calgary Flames, finishing a mile ahead of any other team in that division. I think they are a powerhouse. I thought they were a powerhouse before the addition of Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar. I really love Calgary's D. I think Mackenzie Weegar brings it to a whole next level. Jacob Markstrom, world-class goaltender. I think Calgary finishes first, and you can take that to the bank. In second place, I think the Edmonton Oilers I think they got a little bit better with Jack Campbell. I still think they're a few pieces away from maybe competing with Calgary for top spot, but I think they've gotten better. They're not where they need to be. I have them in second. In third, I think Vegas has a bounce back year. I really hope Logan Thompson can give them the goaltending they need while Robin Leonard recovers from injury. They have a very deep offensive team. They got some solid D. They also got some great young defensemen, Nicholas Hague, Zach Whitecloud. I think that Vegas will be back in the playoffs this year, and they will take third spot in that Pacific Division.
Well, Joel, this is probably the only division that we've agreed on all three teams in the same order. I as well have Calgary on top. I think that team was fantastic last year. I think switching Huberdeau for Kachuk didn't hurt them. Adding Kadri only made them better. Losing Monahan, I don't think he played much last year anyways. So that offense definitely got better. Adding Uyghur didn't hurt their defense at all. I think their defense is really, really good. And like you said, Markstrom, he was unreal last year, and having that team in front of him should be much better this year. Number 2, I have Edmonton, like I said, same as you. McDavid, Draisaitl, I mean, those guys put up numbers like nobody else. So again, that team not going to be worse than last year. I'm hoping the addition of Campbell is what they need in net. If he can stay healthy, they'll definitely be a second place team. And then third, I had Vegas. I think Eichel is probably going to come back to his regular form. He's going to put up the numbers that he did in his good years in Buffalo. Hopefully Thompson is good enough in net, but I do think with that offense and that defense, that it should be good enough to get them in that third spot.
All right, in our wild card spots in the West, at the top wild card spot, I have the St. Louis Blues. I think they're going to fall just behind Dallas. I think they're going to challenge Dallas for that third spot, but I think Dallas will get that. I think Jordan Binnington is a good goalie. I don't think he's a great goalie. I think it was a risky move moving Ville Husso. So many NHL teams now go to that tandem. You need those guys. They split it more, 60-40 than it was 70-30 or even 80-20 a few years ago. And I think that Jordan Binnington doesn't really have that insurance that they had last year with Ville Husso. That's why I have St. Louis moving to a wild card spot. The second wild card spot I have goes to the Winnipeg Jets. I think the addition of Rick Bowness behind the bench, I think that little shakeup of stripping Blake Wheeler's captaincy lights a little bit of fire. I think Hellebuck gets back to form. I think Mark Scheifele will put up some sweet points this year. And Cole Perfetti, I think, will add a nice little offensive touch to these Winnipeg Jets.
All right, Joel. Well, I have St. Louis in that top wild card spot as well. Same points you made. I don't think they're going to be a great team, but I think they'll be good enough to make the playoffs. They're an experienced team. Like you said, Binnington is a good goalie. He's nothing spectacular, but I think he'll be good enough to get to him in that first wild card spot. And then Joel for my second wild card spot. Again, a little bit out there, or maybe a lot out there. But I have Seattle sneaking in there.
That is a bold prediction.
I think they didn't play horrible last year. I think they got a lot better in the offseason. I mean, a lot of young talent, Beniers, Shane Wright. They added Bjorkstrand. I don't think they have a horrible team. I mean, goaltending they may struggle a little bit, but I think if they play with heart, man, I see them sneaking in the playoffs in that final wild card spot.
Well, I wish you luck with that pick. I do not think Seattle is going to be anywhere close to the playoffs. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you there. I good luck. That's all I can think of. I think Seattle's goaltending is shaky at best. Philip Grubauer had great numbers in Colorado, but look at the team he was playing in front of. Didn't really have those numbers last year. Chris Drager, LTIR. They have Martin Jones, whose numbers have been abysmal the last few seasons in Philadelphia, backing up Grubauer. I just don't see it. Cale Fleury, who's a seventh defenseman on most teams, is playing in their top four. If that's not a sign of some struggles, so far we're 0 for 2 in my analysis of Seattle. Up front, I mean, I don't think they have any superstars other than Matty Beniers, and he is, 20, 21? The rest, they're middle six players that are playing top 6 minutes. Good luck. I guess that's why their predictions.
They have a lot to prove, Joel. That's it. That's the thing.
Well, I think that I have the advantage in the wild card right now. Hopefully,
we will see.
Hopefully, this punishment goes the way I think it will. With Team Joel coming out with a big win. Moving on now, we're going to look at our lottery picks. So in this, we're picking the teams that we think are going to win the lottery. This isn't necessarily the teams that we think are finishing bottom 3. These are just the ones we think that are going to be chosen by Bill Daly and Gary Bettman on those Lotto Ball nights on TSN. So we'll take a look at mine 3 picks first. I have the Chicago Blackhawks winning the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. I have Arizona Coyotes picking second. And I have the Montreal Canadiens moving up a few spots. I think they're going to finish bottom 5 to bottom 8 in the league. I think they're going to move up to 3 to round off those 3 first picks in the 2023 draft.
All right, Joel. Well, I definitely see Arizona finishing last this year, but I definitely do not see them picking first next year. I don't think the league will allow that. Not a player like Connor Bedard. I mean, it's not good for the game to have a good player like that go to a shitty market. So I see Chicago getting that first overall pick. I see Connor Bedard going to Chicago, revamping that team a little bit. And obviously the league can't let Arizona slip too far, so I see them picking second. I mean, they'll still get a good player out of it, but there's no way they're letting a franchise player like Bedard go into Arizona. And number 3, I have San Jose. I think I just don't think they're gonna have a very good year at all. They may not finish third last, but I see them getting a top 3 pick and making that team a little bit better. All
right. 2 out of 3 matched. Not bad. I guess we'll be fighting for that 1 point for whoever's selecting third overall. May the best man win. So chalk that point up to me right now then. We're going to move on. We're going to look at the NHL trophies. These are individual trophies. We're going to talk Calder, Vezina, Rocket, the Hart, Norris, Selke, and Art Ross. We'll go back and forth, trophy to trophy. We'll start with the Calder. I think Rookie of the Year goes to Matty Beniers of the Seattle Kraken. I think, he is just lights out, probably the best talent aside from Mason McTavish for the Calder. I just think his hockey sense, I think McTavish is a bit more of a Brendan Gallagher with a little more offense. And a little more size, as Matty Beniers is more of that offensive threat. I think he's going to be flashy. His name's going to be out there. I think he's going to put up a few more points. So I have Matty Beniers winning the Calder.
Well, Joe, that's something we both agree on because Beniers is what's going to take Seattle into the playoffs. He's going to put up enough numbers and enough points to help them get in the playoffs. I'm telling you.
All right, let's move on. The Vezina Trophy. I think it will be the reigning Vezina Trophy winner, Igor Shesterkin, winning it back-to-back seasons. I think that the New York Rangers are going to be a little bit better than Tampa Bay Lightning. I also think that Igor Shesterkin is a little bit better of a goaltender than Andrei Vasilevsky. I might take a little heat for that. That's just my opinion. Igor Shesterkin, Vezina.
All right, Joel. I have Shesterkin as well. I wouldn't say just yet that he's better than Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky's been solid year after year. I mean, Igor's got a lot more to prove before we can say that. But I do agree that the Rangers is just a better team, and it's going to Shesterkin's job is just going to be a lot easier. So that trophy should be a given for him.
All right, we will move on to the Rocket. This is another trophy I think is going to go back to last year's winner. I think Austin Matthews walks away with the Rocket again. McDavid, much more of a passer. Ovi slowing down. I think it's Matthews to lose unless he decides he's not shooting the puck anymore. He's going to win the Rocket.
It seems like a safe pick, Joel, but I think Draisaitl wins it this year. I think McDavid just feeds him all day. I think that they'll end up on the same line together more than just a power play. Even just on the power play, Draisaitl had a ton of goals last year, assisted by McDavid on that power play. So he had some even strength goals. I think Draisaitl takes this one.
All right, we'll go on to the Hart Trophy. The Hart goes to League MVP. I believe this is Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid is Mr. Hockey for this generation, or our great one if you want to do Gretzky or Howe comparisons. I think Connor McDavid brings it all. He is hockey. He wins that Hart Trophy. Without him, I don't think the Edmonton Oilers are in a playoff conversation. Apologies to Leon Draisaitl, but Connor McDavid is a freak.
Joel, that is something we definitely agree on. I definitely have McDavid as the Hart Trophy winner. I don't see there being a competition. Maybe with Draisaitl winning that Rocket Trophy, but besides that, I don't think anybody will stand a chance.
For the James Norris, I have Cale Makar, repeat champ again. I know it may look like I'm taking the favorites, but this is your bet your ass. I'm playing a little conservative. I think that Cale Makar is the no-brain pick here. He does it all. I don't think I need to make more of a case for Cale Makar than that.
What is that term the kids use, Joel? YOLO, right? So I gotta go all out there, and I'm gonna go with Yossi. I think he's gonna take that trophy back. I'm not saying Makar is not gonna put up a fight, but I think Nashville is just a better team, and I think Yossi's just gonna put up better numbers.
Well, I guess time will tell, but I think that this is an offensive trophy. I think that Cale Makar is going to put up more points than Roman Josi, which puts him ahead. Josi is the better overall defenseman if you're looking at the complete game, but he also has, a little more than a decade on Cale Makar in experience. I think Makar will get there sooner rather than later, but to me, it's still an offensive trophy. I think Cale Makar has this, but like I said, time will tell who made the correct selection. Who knows? Maybe none of us do. Somebody like Victor Hedman or Adam Fox could walk in and take this trophy. But let's move on. Let's look at the Selke Trophy. This goes to the best defensive forward. Again, I probably have a consensus pick. I'm going to go with Patrice Bergeron. He's won it the last X amount of years. Why should that change now? If it's not broken, don't fix it. Patrice Bergeron.
Joel, I got to go with my boy, my favorite player. I'm going with Barkov. I think Barkov takes it. I think Bergeron was slowing down speed-wise, age-wise. I just don't think he's going to be able to do the things he was able to do 3-4 years ago. And honestly, I think Matthews would be the runner-up. I don't see Bergeron being top 2 for that trophy.
Wow, I don't know if... wow. All right, not top 2. I think they're going to rename this. I think they're going to rename this trophy the Bergeron Trophy when he does retire.
He is probably one of the greatest defensive forwards of this generation. I just feel like he's slowed down. That age has caught up to him. I just don't think he's going to be as good as Barkov and Matthews.
I am not a Bruins fan, but it's hard to disagree with the Selke being Bergeron's trophy unless you're Justin. So I guess we'll see. Again, what the season brings. We'll finish off here with the Art Ross. This is most points overall at the end of the season. I think it's going to be Connor McDavid. He's going to put up 30-plus goals. He's going to put up 70-plus assists. To me, again, Matthews is the scorer. He's not the setup guy. McDavid can be both. He will be both. I think this is Connor McDavid's to lose.
Well, definitely agree with you there, Joel. I see McDavid pushing 40 goals, if not passing 40 goals this year, and that guy can pass like no other player in the league. So he 100% taking that Art Ross trophy probably for the next 5 years.
So that wraps up our 3 sections of You Bet Your Ass for our first episode. So at the end of the season, we're going to see who made the most correct playoff standings selections. We're also going to see who made the most correct lottery draft result selections and who made the most correct individual trophy selections. 1 point per team, per player, per category, and at the end, whoever wins gets to pick the punishment for the loser. This will all be up on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. So if you're not already following us on all 3, not sure what you're waiting for, go and do that now.
All right, Joel. So now we're going to move on to that final segment, Blunder of the Week. So this week, Joel, the recipient of Blunder of the Week goes to David Hackstall. Care to explain?
Oh, would I ever? Dave Hackstall, what are you doing? You have the 4th overall pick in Shane Wright, which was the consensus 1st overall pick a few months ago before Montreal threw that curveball in taking Uri Slafkovsky. You had this player where you had the fire already lit under his ass from dropping from 1st to 4th. You don't have a good team. As I mentioned earlier, you have middle 6 to bottom 6 players filling roles from the 1st line to the 4th line. You have this kid sitting in the press box 2 out of the 3 first games. Then Dave Hackstall comes out and says that Shane Wright is sitting because he doesn't have the compete level. What are you doing to this kid's mental game? Like, to me, this is unnecessary kind of mind games. And again, we're not privy to what's being said in the locker room or what conversations are having between Hackstall, Wright's agent, and Ron Francis. But to me, like, what are you waiting for? If you're saying the kid doesn't have the compete level, and that fire that was lit under his butt from the draft isn't enough, and he's not ready, send him down, having him in the press box, watching this team, where I believe that he could easily fit in a top 6, top 9 at worst role, sitting in the press box, watching the team play maybe a 500 season this year. To me, that's doing nothing for the kid. Send him down to the O. Let him absolutely dominate like we know he will if he gets sent down, because he will have that fire regardless. That is going to sting, and that is going to stick in his memory for the next little bit. I just think that you're doing worse for him, having him sit in that press box, saying that he doesn't have that compete. I don't know. I just think Dave Hackstall's doing a hack job of handling Shane Wright. And, I mean, I'm not an NHL coach. Probably will never be. Actually, I'll guarantee I'll never be. I just don't know what he's doing. I mean, maybe it's not my job. I'm not supposed to know. I just think that they're not doing it the right way. I think that they're mismanaging this player. And I think for somebody that's already had his ego knocked down a few pegs at the draft, to knock it down a little bit more is not going to do the good that Dave Hackstall is probably hoping it will. I'm going to end it on that just because I could talk for a little bit longer, but you guys probably don't want to hear that.
Wow, Joel, I feel like we should put that on a poster. Hackstall doing a hack job. I like it. And that's a wrap for the first ever episode of Average Jocks Hockey Podcast. On behalf of Joel and myself, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in.
We look forward to bringing you fresh and exciting weekly content. Every Friday, we will be dropping episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. So make sure to follow us there so that you don't miss any weekly episodes. Next week, we have Simon Salikas from TSN 690 joining us. We're going to cover a bunch of interesting topics. quite a bit of the Habs, just because Simon is from the Montreal area. But we're going to touch about all teams in the NHL, all players. We are also going to be introducing a new segment called the Lightning Round, which Simon participates in. You don't want to miss this episode. We have tons of special guests lined up over the next couple months, so make sure you subscribe. Thank you, and have a great week.